What is up, YouTube? My name is Trinity, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today, we are still going to be talking about true crime and missing 411, though today is a little bit different because we're going to be talking about a case that just recently happened a few months ago and is still ongoing. Lesner Velasquez Cardenas was dropped off at a trailhead at Mount Shasta in California, located in the Shasta Trinity National Park. And that was the last time he was ever seen again. No clues were left behind, no indication as to what he was trying to accomplish by going there, leaving rangers, investigators, and his loved ones all confused. Lesner is described as a good kid. He was a former wrestler, he's in shape, and he just graduated from the Cal Fire Academy, and he also trained to be an EMT at Shasta College, with his goal eventually to become a first responder. 10:30 a.m., a few hours before he would officially go missing, he was in a rollover collision on Oak Run Road outside of Redding, California, where he lived. The accident happened because he swerved in order to avoid hitting a deer. He reported the collision to the California Highway Patrol, but he left before they had gotten there, getting a ride with a local woman who took him back to his apartment. She said he seemed fine and had no visible injuries. The site of this accident was also where the last photo of him was taken. Brian Quincy, the father of his best friend Hunter, said that he didn't think there was any criminal intent with him leaving the scene. He was just kind of a very naive person because he was very sheltered most of his life. So he may have just been very scared of getting in trouble. He had just gotten his license, so he may have thought that he was going to be in more trouble than he actually would have been. I'm pretty sure it was just him and his car that were part of this accident, so it's not like he hit somebody and left. After going home, he changed his clothes and he grabbed his boots and his backpack. And by 2:22 p.m. that day, he was getting into a taxi near a Wells Fargo on East Cypress Avenue, and he would take a 2-hour taxi ride to the last location he was seen, the trailhead at Mount Shasta. Hunter decided to visit Lesner's apartment. I'm not sure where in this time frame it was, but it was after Lesner had already left in the taxi, and he saw all the signs that he had been there, the discarded clothes on the ground and everything, and he saw that his items were gone. And the weirdest detail that he saw while just in his apartment looking for his friend were a pair of women's earrings that he said did not belong to any of the 3 female roommates of Lesner. Lesner was dropped off at a trailhead near a popular camping ground about 5,000 feet up Mount Shasta called McBride Springs. Now, while the trail was accessible from here, it was not a popular starting point because it added an extra 3 miles to hike wherever most hikers went on Mount Shasta. Lesner apparently told the taxi driver that he was there to break a friend's record, and that was the last thing that was heard from him, and that's the last time he was seen. These last words that Lesner gave to the taxi driver really confused Brian Quincy because he said that he didn't know of any friends that Lesner had that were into hiking and climbing, and Lesner didn't even really have any sort of connection to the mountain in general. So he wasn't sure why Lesner would be trying to break this record of a friend he didn't even know existed. It's also unclear how he paid for this 2-hour taxi ride because his wallet and his cash were at the Quincy household. Maybe he had left them there at like a previous visit or something. But one of the things that was missing that people think may have been with him was his passport. According to investigators, this trailhead where he was dropped off was the last place that his cell phone pinged, and it has not gone off since then. Hunter, however, has issues with the official timeline because at 2:06 p.m., so 16 minutes before he would have been getting into the taxi, he opened up the Find My app and he saw Lesner's phone already pinging from Mount Shasta. Now, of course, I don't think there's any evidence to prove that he saw this, but it's a very specific detail, and I don't know why he would put it out there if it wasn't something he was sure of. Now, Let's say that he had gone up there for the exact reason he told the taxi driver. He was a healthy, active young man. He should have been fine for a night or two or just a day of hiking. The weather was really good and the nights were very mild around that time. He should have been okay. And mind you, he was dropped off at a campground. So it wasn't exactly middle of nowhere. Though when the search began 2 days later by the Shasta County Sheriff's Department, no indication of him being there was found, no sorts of clues. And when it was eventually passed over to the Reading Police Department on June 4th, same thing. No evidence he was ever there. So wherever he went, he didn't leave anything behind. It's a very strange situation, but it was made even stranger when I learned that his mother is battling stage 4 cancer. As a person with a loved one going through that exact same battle, I can't imagine choosing to not contact them, to check on them, to make sure they're okay in all of that time. Hunter does have a theory that is very possible, in my opinion. Hunter thinks that it's possible that Lesner went into hiding after the accident, kind of drawing on what his dad said about being very naive, thinking he's in trouble. Lesner was very scared of ICE. He is from Honduras and he's here on a student visa. He is legally here. However, we have seen in recent months that whether you are undocumented, whether you are here on a visa, or sometimes even if you're a citizen, people have been taken off of the streets with no warning or reason, and their loved ones are not even notified of where they are or if they're okay. They're moved around very often, kept in inhumane conditions. So I can definitely understand why he would have had that fear. One of his roommates named Josefina Jimenez said, quote, "There are some days I'm like, oh, he's probably just wandering, walking, or doing something. And then he'll be back and I'll say, sorry for the scare, guys. But my heart is telling me that's not the case." His family also released a statement urging people to keep an eye out for him and report if you see or hear anything that could help investigators find him. Quote, "We want our son back home. Please, if you hear or see anything, report so we can get him back. The only reason we are commenting and not there is because of his mom's fragile medical condition. But his dad and sister will be there looking for him. This is not like Lesner. Please keep your eye out, and we want this nightmare over and our son safe." I think Hunter's story is very possible, especially given, recent events. I also think maybe he really wasn't fully there. I know the lady that gave him a ride back into Reading said that he seemed fine and wasn't physically injured, but if he sustained a concussion, hit his head or anything, he might have been totally out of it. And, without thinking, decided to go on this wild trip and got himself into some trouble. A statement his coach made about the last picture of him that we have could even kind of support this theory. The coach said, quote, "He actually looked confused and angry and perplexed. Not everything really adds up." So apparently someone who's pretty close to him looked at that picture and they were like, he doesn't look all there. He looks confused. He's out of it. And if you think about it, if you get into a car crash like that and you're okay, you're still probably going to be kind of bewildered, but looking confused, maybe that would come from a head injury or something. Another potential theory that I'm not very set on is that he could have entered something called a fugue state, which is a rare psychological phenomenon where people have temporary amnesia and it often causes them to travel and wander great distances. Though these states, like I said, are very rare. There's some missing 411 cases and just true crime cases in general that could be attributed to them. But him just not remembering his identity, because that's something a fugue state does, you don't remember who you are. I don't know if that would really lower the chances of him being found, though. Now, I personally do not see anything weird in the sense of like supernatural stuff with this case. But just because Mount Shasta does have a lot of weird like conspiracy theories and legends around it, I'm going to talk about those. But again, I really don't think it's related to this specific case. First is a man named Guy Ballard apparently encountered a man who referred to himself as the Count of Saint Germain while hiking on the mountain one day, and it opened him up to all of this knowledge and started him down the path to founding his own religion, which is essentially like a new age cult that is still around today. It is called the I Am movement or activity. I guess they have like temples or whatever all around the world. If you're into cults, maybe I'll start talking about cults. The next weird thing about Mount Shasta is there is this conspiracy theory from multiple different places that there is an underground city called Telos located underneath Mount Shasta, and it's inhabited by these very advanced beings from the lost continent of Lemuria. Stay with me, I know it sounds crazy. Well, it is crazy, but I'll explain. Now, the continent of Lemuria is a discredited theory put forward by Philip Sclater in 1864. He theorized that there may have been a continent that we have yet to know about. He created this theory to explain why there are lemur fossils in Madagascar and on the Indian subcontinent, but none in continental Africa or in the Middle East. But this theory was discredited about 100 years later when Alfred Wegener's theory of continental drift became widely accepted. Those interested in conspiracy and the occult essentially made Lemuria Atlantis 2.0, and they said that when Lemuria went under the Indian Ocean and was destroyed, that its advanced inhabitants migrated to Mount Shasta in California and created an underground city. This conspiracy is referenced in several books. There is also a legend about a man named J.C. Brown, who was a prospector for a British gold prospecting company, and in 1904 he came across this slope into the mountain that was 11 miles long, but when he got to the end of it, he found this village essentially inside that was full of gold and shields and mummies that were 11 feet tall. He opened up about this story about 30 years later to a man named John C. Root, and he wanted to get an expedition together to go find it, and Brown was all on board to help find it again. Root gathered 80 volunteers to join this expedition from Stockton, California, but on the day that the expedition was supposed to leave, Brown did not show up and he was never heard from again. I do not think any of this has anything to do with Lesner. And my two main thoughts are either he was hurt and disoriented and became confused for some reason. He went to Mount Shasta and something bad happened, or that he really was scared that because he got into a car accident, ICE was going to try to come find him. And he went into hiding. And again, either he found somewhere to hide that nobody knows where he is, or something bad happened to him. If you happen to be in Redding, California, or near the Mount Shasta area, or may have any sort of information that may help investigators, remember this is an ongoing case. I am going to put the number that you can call in any tips to on the screen right now. I know we very often talk about like the worst possible case scenarios in these stories, but it's a little easier when it's like a 50, 100-year-old case that people are pretty sure the person's already gone. But I really want Lesner to be found healthy and safe, and I want his family and friends to have answers. But thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the slight gap in videos. I went back to school and my nana was also in the hospital for a couple of days last week, so that kind of put a pause on writing this script and others. I am working on my script for the Jeffrey Epstein video. However, stuff keeps happening, obviously, that I'm sure you guys can see, so I'm going to put that on the back burner so I can get all the information and not have to make a million updates. When it comes to the Cryptid Iceberg video, I'm basically ready for it. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Liking really does help get my videos out there to other people that enjoy spooky things just like us. I want to keep growing this community, and I'm really excited for this upcoming Spooktober. I want to do a lot of cool things, especially with the Warrens and all of their paranormal investigations. But I'll tell you guys a little more about that later. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I upload. And even if you don't have a theory personally for where Lesner is right now, I still have another question for you guys. Would you be interested in a series about subscriber personal like horror stories? It could be Let's Not Meet, not paranormal, but more just creepy people, or it could be paranormal if you've had scary experiences. Let me know down in the comments below, and I will consider making like an email for you guys to send in submissions, and we can start that series along with all of the other ones I'm doing right now. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you all so much, especially during hard and challenging times I'm going through. I am always happy to come back to you guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.